message of recognizing and stopping domestic abuse. About a young woman who, great lacrosse player, and she was the victim fatally of domestic abuse. So there's a program where they go into the high schools and they discuss it. And I was told by someone close to me that at their school, unfortunately, with the boys being in a classroom setting, they were not accepting the message. There was, those rules from that culture they were almost making fun at the topic, and I'm certain they didn't really know what they were doing, and they talk with me later about, okay, so why were you doing that? But there is something about, you get them in the athletic setting. If it's done right, they are open to change. I mean, that's what we talk about. Hey, what's the offense? What's the defense? The pace, this, that. It's a different team every week. The ball bounces funny, and that really is an environment that you can have some very heavy topics be discussed. I mean, for real discussed, not just recited and stated. And I think that's incredibly powerful. And in fact, a friend of ours, was a professional football athlete, big, huge man, gentle inside. But I remember him telling my wife, because she had worked in a lot of disadvantaged neighborhoods with middle and high school, or at the time I think it was middle school age kids, and they were having a hard time staying out of trouble, but they wanted to. And she asked him, what should we do? And he knew the scenario, and he said, you just tell him to say, my mama says I've got to get home, and that will work. And he's like,
I love it.
Yeah, he's like, that will get him. That is the word in that rough culture. Because as you said, the mother is around. The father always is not. Yet later on, strangely, it's the masculine behavior that's dominating their lives. And it's there. And like you say, when you find those scenarios, to realize the women have as much and often more power, because they are as strong or stronger than the men day to day. You have to see it. And it's right there. Like I say, you're showing them in the field, and then you're realizing, hey, who's in charge at home 24/7? Even when you're not at home, you're wondering if your mom's if she finds out what you're doing. Does that mean something good or something horrible when she finds out what you're doing? And yeah, I just, you've talked about this, and it's the field is the platform. Forget the sport. Pick the conduit that works. But that's the first thing on your website, and I love it.
I am a full believer that any sport, you can teach anything through sport, and it doesn't matter what the sport is, and it doesn't matter what you're trying to teach. If you want to teach something, you can do it through sport. I know a lot of the biggest lessons I've learned were through sport and playing on a team, and going through struggles and success and all that stuff. All the lessons I learned that I still use now were learned on either a soccer field or a lacrosse field, for sure. And as long as you have the kids' interest, that's when they're going to learn. And because kids get into sports, it makes it really easy to be able to teach the kind of things that you want to teach through it.
Yeah, it's the most ethical bait and switch that you can ever do for somebody. Come on, let's go play a game, and 5 years from now, you're going to realize what I just did to you. The way we talked about this and structured it, because I think constantly for the last 15 years, I think more and more about all the things that went on between the ages of 12 and 22. On the ball field. So we've run long, and I don't care. We're going to keep. I want to make sure that before we wrap up here, again, tell everyone where they can find your website, but then also you've got some events coming up. So again, stateside, there are some things that people can be a part of if they want to see what you're doing up close.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So again, our website is lacrossethenations.org. We have an awesome social media manager. Brooke just get some great content from our guys in Nicaragua, and we're always posting really good stuff. So on Instagram, it's Lacrosse The Nations. On Twitter, it's also Lacrosse The Nations. Always great content, great stories from our kids in Nicaragua, our coaches, and then stuff that we do in the States. So coming up this month, we're going to be in Lexington at WNL. We have a huge partnership with their men's and women's lacrosse teams, and they're hosting an event for us down in Lexington on the 27th. And then we'll be in Richmond, Virginia on May 17th. I believe that's a Thursday night. And that's really, it's our goal with these two events is just to get people to come out, hear our story, hear about our mission and the work that we're doing, and just to continue to grow our base of supporters here. We've got a huge group of supporters in Richmond. So many lacrosse players and coaches and lacrosse families that love what we're about and want to be a part of it. And so if you're in Richmond or Lexington, Virginia this month and next month, we'd love to have people come out.
Yeah, and again, it's just, and for those that if you're not near, if you're alum or friends of people who are of Washington, it's Washington and Lee, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, Washington and Lee and University of Richmond. This is the great network in this and other organizations that it's happening in more places that you know, and there's more groups again that you can support so that these events can be put on. So, Javier, again, thank you again so much for a great hour-long chat. I'm pretty disappointed we need to stop.
Me too. I could talk about this all day.
Yeah, I said I was just watching the clock, and I'm like, nah, we're going to keep going because this is hardly a task, to be talking about things like this. And I look forward to having you on again to get into some of these topics, even with some panel discussions, because so this model that you have here is a model for change. Forget about the age group, the location, the sport, the scenario. It is a model for communicating in a way that develops a better culture. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure talking.
Absolutely. We'll talk again soon. And everybody, thanks again for tuning in. And we'll be back next week. Thanks.
Down a dirty road, started out all alone. I'm learning to fly, but I ain't got wings. Coming down is the hardest thing. So it started out for God knows where. I guess I'll know when I get there.